Athens was really founded after the University of Georgia. The University of Georgia was created by the Georgia General Assembly in 1785, and the city of Athens grew up around the University of Georgia. University of Georgia football is more than an Athens event. It's a state of Georgia event. When Georgia won the national championship, it was as if an Augusta team had won it. There's that much support around the state for the university. And of course the networks carry the games live down throughout most of the communities in Georgia, the major communities. So everyone has access to football, whether they're here in person or not.
There's something about football in the South, and I think fans take it to heart and tailgate hard.
I think in the South, though, we are a very social and hospitable culture. That we're loyal to our schools and to our teams, despite the circumstances they might be in, and it's really becomes a social event more than an athletic contest. You take tailgating. Tailgating is a social event. There are persons who come to Athens on football Saturdays without tickets, and on some of the larger games without the hope of getting tickets, and are perfectly satisfied to tailgate and to listen to the game on the radio at their cars when they are not able to get into the stadium, and are not disappointed.
I do live here, and on tailgating weekends, on home game weekends, to me it's just really disgusting. Like, basically a bunch of people come from out of town and they vomit and piss all over the city, and then they leave the next day.
When I first came here 30 years ago, the stadium held about 59,000 people. And now we're close to 87,000. That's ticketed fans. And a game like we're going to have tomorrow against Tennessee, there could be 20,000 plus extra people coming to the campus and the downtown area with no hopes of getting a football ticket. That puts a tremendous amount of stress on the land and infrastructure that we have.
At the University of Georgia, we historically sell out the stadium, even in years that are not among our best. This year is even more tremendous in that a number of season ticket requests were refunded. I believe the number's around 30,000.
The ones that we have the most trouble with as they come into the game are people that maybe never went to school here, or they did go to school here, but they're in their 40s, sometimes in their 50s, 30s. Really throwing behavior to the four winds. The more violent ones tend to be the non-student. Now, students may get drunk, but they tend not to be as violent.
They always want to come in and use the bathroom. Like, groups of like 15 of them come in and just use the bathroom. I've had windows broken out at the deli I worked at. I've seen a lot of battered women on game night. Like, sometimes especially after the game loses, like in one night, seen up to like three women crying with black eyes and stuff.
Really?
And it's just it's just sick. And like, I don't know, it just disgusts me.
You know, the question might be, you know, are some games more important than others? Sure. But at least seems like every year there's one big game. And this year, this Saturday, the Tennessee game will probably be the biggest game of the season. A rivalry. Tennessee has loyal supporters. Everyone that can get here with any prayer of getting into the stadium will be here. Already the restaurant owners and bar owners are predicting record sales for this weekend. The Clemson game, the first game of this season, was their second best sales day in their history of Athens. As we've increased the size of the stadium, of course, that draws more people here. So it's a tremendous economic boon for them.
job as Christians is to witness to people in their drunken state. 7 years ago, I gave my life to Christ, man. I was living, like I was actually a pervert, looking at pornography and different stuff like that. And I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. And I was sleeping around with folks, sleeping around with girls, man, going from bar to this bar to that bar, and hotel to hotel. And I knew that if I died inside, man, I wouldn't make heaven my home. And I met a dude down here about 7 years ago, and he told me about Jesus. And I tried psychiatrists, psychologists, and I was diagnosed with manic depression, and none of it worked, man. I was just looking for peace on the inside. And what happened was I ended up repenting of my sins and receiving Jesus Christ as my Savior, and he totally changed my life. That one night I quit cussing and swearing, I quit fornicating, I quit looking at pornography, I quit visiting bars, I quit doing all that stuff, man, and Jesus totally changed my life.
Well, again, if you are a city of 100,000 people and you host 80,000 visitors one day, there are things that have to be done. Obviously, traffic control and security issues, things as probably as mundane but as important as bathroom facilities.
The athletic department brings a lot of portalets on campus and distributes them all throughout the campus. So you'll get complaints about people urinating in public, and we deal with that.
Leave the game alone. Bet on somebody else. Leave the game alone. Dude. I got a guy that works with me that's Georgia alum, and I tell him he's bet twice against Georgia. I told him both times. You're a fucking idiot.
Okay, well, he's probably
making. And you know what? He's lost both times. Don't fucking bet against him.
Him.
How can you do it? How can you bet against him?
It's easy.
Who's gonna win tomorrow? Is that a question?
Red and black, baby, Georgia.
Red and black, Georgia. That's right. And why do you think your brother bet against the Dogs?
My brother bet against the Dogs?
Because he's not a dog. That's why he bet against him, because he's not a dog.
A whore.
You ought to be ashamed of your goddamn self.
And you're balding right up here, you whore. Thank you.
Persons that come to Athens to tailgate, many will come in their RVs at 6 or 7 o'clock Friday morning to get ready for the 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock Saturday game. We have the first game of this year when the parking rules and lots, the availability was changed, and senior university officials were dealing with parking problems at a breakfast I was at 7 o'clock on Friday morning before the Saturday 1 o'clock game. So people come to town prepared to have a party, to participate in that social life.
One store. We'll have the keg trucks here probably twice or 3 times on Friday, and probably at least 3 times, once early, once during the game, and once after the game on Saturday, just because we can't physically hold all the kegs that we'll sell. Yeah. I mean, there's extra bourbon, of course, extra Beam, extra Crown, Jack Daniels, stuff like that, extra beer, extra Bloody Mary mix, because people get up early and start drinking early. So Bloody Mary mix sells at this time of the year like you would not believe. We ran out our first football game because we didn't order enough. If anything, it might be the hospitality type thing, people getting around, cooking, drinking, socializing, that sort of thing, an excuse to party.
Okay. Tailgating. Yes, I do.
About 12 years.
Yeah. In the same spot. Right here.
We get here early.
Yeah. The kids just go around us. The students just go around us to go to class. This is Homestead.
This is us.
This is it.
This is it.
And what are your names?
Oh. Cindy, Seal, and Jan, and Julia. Hey. Yeah. Tailgate.
If I can ask, who's going to win tonight?
Oh, okay. We got one word for you.
Who's going to win? Georgia. That'd be 2 words.
Yeah, 2 words.
Southern people are a lot nicer.
Everybody
know how to have fun.
Just everybody.
These are our neighbors. All these people around us. It's like if we need something, we go and knock on that tent and say, "Hey, y'all got a wine cork?" They give it to us.
That's right.
They come say, "Y'all got a cold beer?" We give it to them.
That's right.
number 144, except for the Hawaii trip. I missed the Hawaii bowl game because I got screwed at the airport. I had the red pants on, my day back, because I was only going for 1 day, coming back right after the game, but had a mishap with Delta and didn't make it.
How'd you feel when Delta told you?
That was the first Georgia game I've ever seen on TV. That was the first game I've ever seen on TV because I couldn't go. So it was it's probably the worst feeling I've ever had. I had a buddy, he was at the airport with me. He took me to a bar in Buckhead. I watched it. It's just really not a very good subject.
Do you want to see my balls?
You need to get that.
I'll show you my balls.
Hey, where's the Got T-shirt? Where's the Got T-shirt? Get the Got T-shirt in there. Is that where that frog bit?
That's where a frog bit me at the tailgate. Get that. A frog bit me at the tailgate.
It's one of those Athens tree frogs. They're deadly.
Get in, man. Let me turn the TV. Oh. Hey, Dade. Hey, crank it up. Huh? Open that door and turn it on. It's the limousine, University of Georgia limousine, baby. Actually, I think we're going to pull this one out. I really do. Last week, I bet on Alabama to win. Don't tell anybody that. But this week, I think we'll beat Tennessee. If the gentleman would like to use my scrotum on his thesis, he's more than welcome to. So I'm very proud of him. Very proud of him.
This is a unitard. It's a typical unitard you'd see every day around the house. I started wearing it to 1 game a year last year. This is a banana cup. It's not really my crotch. But I bought this about a year ago.
That's very common for people to bring in huge cookers bigger than my desk, pull them behind trucks and cars, and cook pounds and pounds of pork. Yeah. And I'm not talking about just hot dogs and hamburger. I'm talking about a whole hog or shoulders and Boston butts, slabs of ribs. A lot of guys put a lot of heart and soul into tailgating. You know, they'll bring generators and they're hooking up TVs and big fans and satellite dishes and, you know, a lot of good food.
The Georgia girls versus the Northern girls say, "Go, hit him hard, hit him hard." And the Georgia girls go, "Kick the shit out of him, tear his legs off." And they eat quiche and eat caviar at tailgating. We eat chicken, ribs, and cold beer, 1 in each hand. And if you got an ugly date, you got a 6-pack in each hand.
A lot of the people, they'll have like all their tents set up and everything else over on North Campus, and they'll abandon everything and just go off to the game a lot of times, leaving like coolers of beer and whiskey and whatever else, big bags of chips, cookies, whatever. And so they go around and gather up any of that stuff they could, and we called it beer pirating, where we go around and just, you know, grab whatever we could while they were gone. Just because, just like I said, because those people just piss me off so much. And I don't want to say those people, but like so many of the people that come in on game days piss me off so much that it was like I really didn't feel bad about it.
Jack Daniels, vodka, coffee in the morning because we get here pretty early. We're here for a 3 o'clock game, 7 o'clock. I tell you what, Osama bin Laden to most Georgia people is the equivalent of Steve Spurrier. An evil genius. That's probably the best way to describe the guy.
What about Saddam Hussein while you're at it?
Saddam's probably, he's probably bad. Fulmer's probably good. Jackie Sherrill's another guy that comes to mind. Guys that kind of bend the rules a little bit, but they're always trying to be 1 step ahead.
I got my diploma, they stamped me. Super cheap. That's what happens when you get your diploma. See, look. It's a little bit hairy. Hey, we got filming us too. Film you.
Hey man,
this
how you
Dusty.
doing?
You got to say you're okay to be filmed.
He's all right to be filmed.
I'm in the good.
My name's Frankie and Stein. I'm from Sweetwater, Tennessee. This is my man. Probably about 44 tickets.
44 tickets at 125 each? How much in the face?
Oh, goddamn.
How much?
That's how you get started doing it. You want to go see a game, you can pay your way. So, then it becomes after you get 3 kids, you need to make for Christmas. So they need new shoes. So
You do this every Saturday of the football season?
Somewhere, right.
How many times you come to Athens?
2 years ago.
Is this especially a big game? Is this especially a good team though? Good.
Well, I mean, just you know, Georgia people want to beat the Tennessee fans, beat the Tennessee football team. So they're selling them for $125. You can buy them for $100. You sell 40 tickets, man. You made $1,000. Ain't too many jobs you can get. You make $1,000 a day. So.
What's the most you sold one ticket for?
Today, $150. 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Very quiet for what I was expecting to be a busy morning. Hadn't been yet. This is the Georgia Letterman's Club for the University of Georgia football team, and they lease this grassy area in here inside the cemetery to tailgate. Right, they lease the space from the cemetery, and funds help provide upkeep for the cemetery.
What would you like? I think the day saw Roy Brace's ankle last night and drink that. Go Georgia! Go Georgia! And dogs!
Y'all, let's go. I'm starting to sober up.
All right.
But you're a law student?
Yes.
Shouldn't you be studying?
Not today.
I'm in my 3rd year, so I don't have to study anymore.
And she's also top of her class.
Number 1.
First honor grad.
Are you guys from?
I'm not kidding.
Are you guys from Georgia?
Yes.
I'm not from Buck.
I'm anti-football. I went here for college and I'm here for law school, so I'm what they refer to as a double dog, which I think is the lamest name ever. And I was also an orientation leader, right? So I'm supposed to have all this school spirit. But personally, I think it's lame, and I think the hype about football game is ridiculous. But then I compare it to things that I like a lot, like concerts, like Fish and the Grateful Dead, for example. Like going to these concerts, hang out in the parking lot, and everyone's like, brah, and you know, people are drinking, selling beer, bye, call me later. And so it's kind of a similar phenomenon, except these people like football and I like concerts. So I can't really knock them. But I think football's a bit barbaric, and I don't see what people get out of the whole program. But for me, I enjoy it because it's free alcohol, which, you know, you take as much as you can get. And so I like to ride my bike around because I never leave my house in my car on game days because it's so disgusting and terrible. But riding your bike, you kind of get a feel, you get into the people, you know, you get to hang out with the people, which is nice. And yeah.
What we're doing is we're looking for contraband. Contraband could be guns, knives, alcohol, just things that shouldn't be in the stadium. So it's not just guns, it's anything, glass objects. It could be a soft drink in a glass bottle. That is contraband. The glass, you won't be ejected for it, but you can't bring glass in, you know, like one of the old soft drinks, you know, because if they throw that, you can hurt somebody. So that's why you don't want hard objects inside sporting events. In the South, again, you have to understand there's a lot of guns. So I'd be a fool if I thought somebody didn't slip a gun into a crowd of 87,000 people. That doesn't mean anybody's going to use it, and it doesn't mean I'm not concerned. It just means I don't know. But I couldn't tell you that there's no guns in there. But I can assure you there's a lot of guns out in parking lots, because this is the South and you can have a gun in your car. So how many, I couldn't tell you, but I'd say there are plenty of guns in personal cars. And we hardly ever have any problem with it because it's such a custom. I mean, for people to have guns, it's just, Southerners don't look at it maybe like some other people do because we're around them all the time. If you grow up around guns, you get accustomed to seeing guns in your house and people having them, and oh, this is a new shotgun I bought for bird hunting, and they want to show you. So But the bottom line is, yeah, there's a lot of guns out in parking lots, but they're put where they're supposed to be, and we don't hear about it. And since it's legal to do that.
Fuck all you people! Yeah! Fuck Tennessee! And your mama! Orange is
The women's titties. You gotta do it. Hey, go fucking here.
Get him!
We're just lucky to be undefeated right now.
The only thing that gives us hope that Miami's going to lose, possibly.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You guys got a beer for the road? Nah.
No, dude, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. We're alcoholics. We need our beer.
Played 87 plays a week ago against Arkansas. Here's Green, little slants at him inside to Fred Gibson. He manages yardage only to the 10-yard line.
That's Sean Jones right there. He's a safety. He's not a linebacker, but he's up in there anticipating run, and it's just one more guy that Tennessee can block. They're outnumbering them at the line of scrimmage. It's going to force Tennessee to try to throw the football if they can't block everybody.
Dustin Gold got off to a good start in this ball game. On the season, averaging 43.5 yards.
Yeah!
Get on it!
Get on it! Yeah! But go Bulldogs. We're going to whoop Tennessee. We're going to take Florida. And we're going to take a national championship. Once again, it took us about 20 years, but that's all right. That don't count. Here we go. Oh, I got this at the, it was a birthday gift the second time. I bought it at Spencer's at the mall. But don't tell nobody, because I'm going to sell these. Because everybody's offering me like 50 bucks for them. So I'm going to sell these next time. So don't tell me. Don't get no ideas. If I see you selling them, I'm going to get you. All right? You go to those. Yeah.
Niggas selling is real bad today, baby.
Why? What's up? What's up? What happened?
They don't want to pay $100 a piece for the tickets today. So what we're going to do is put it on candy camera. I want $150 for that ticket right there. $150.
What time is it in the game?
Oh, baby,
was this a Tennessee fan or what?
Oh, you got the orange underwear? Nice.
He ain't even like down there.
Oh, look at that.
Look.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
When I came up here, I was a freshman. I didn't even go here. I went to Emory. I came up here one night for the Tennessee game. I come up here alone. I'm in my car. I get there, I park, I get out of my car, I'm alone, I don't know anybody, I've never been in this town before. Get out of the car, 6 or 7 people ask me, are you rooting for the Dogs tomorrow? You rooting for them to win? I say yes. They start taunting me, giving me a hard time or whatever. Get all around me in a big circle, start talking shit. So I was just like, all right, automatically I've got to hate these people. And then, you know, I decided to transfer up here and hate these people for the rest of my life. I paid $80 for that ticket freshman year and we lost 22-3. 22-3. So obviously this is the team that I hate more than anybody else on the face of the planet, and that's just kind of how it's going to be.
Most football fans, particularly when you're winning, are well behaved, but there's always issues with some celebrations that might get a little too celebrative, and we do have some increased police protection.
Put that on
The dumbest person ever.
Hey, you gotta do the Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien, where you come here, you're like, that fucking hurt, dude.
In case you didn't know, we 6-0. In case you didn't know.
Go Vols, baby. Go Vols. Knoxville, we're rednecks. I just thought that was yeah!
Who's number one? Who's 6-0?
Georgia ho! Georgia ho! Georgia!
I'd say Southerners have a, there's a spirit, pretty much fighters. You know, enjoy life as much as you can. Sometimes that may work against them, but I do think they have a free spirit, and you know, that fighting spirit. Not that you don't find that in some other areas, but I do know historically, you know, a lot of people have come from the South. A lot of Southerners went to military academies, and in times a lot of the great generals came from the South, and I think you find that spirit in the Deep South across the board. Yes. And where some other people may be, in the Midwest, some great basketball, and they may see that fighting spirit during basketball time. We tend to see it more at football season.